Night settles different by the bay. The air smells like salt and old stories, the kind that stick to your skin long after you leave. The water reflects the city's glow, but underneath that shimmer, something else stirs. Last time, we followed the whispers through St. Augustine's streets, from the old jail to Huguenot Cemetery. But here, at the edge of the bay, those whispers become echoes. And if you listen long enough, the city starts to talk back. Welcome back to Greetings from Florida. I'm your host, Joe Torino, and tonight we're bringing our St. Augustine trilogy to the shore with one final journey, from the lighthouse that guards the sea to the haunted hotels that hold its memories. This is Echoes of the Past. They say that every wave that hits the seawall carries a story back from the deep. Shipwrecks, storms, souls. And nowhere in this city do those echoes ring louder than at the lighthouse. Our first stop, a fortress of light and memory, a place where tragedy and devotion still walk side by side. Welcome to the St. Augustine Lighthouse and Maritime Museum. Before it was a tourist stop or a ghost story, it was a watchtower. A wooden sentinel guarding the edge of the continent. Since 1589, when Italian cartographer Giovanni Battista Boazio drew it on his map, this tower stood watch over St. Augustine's shores. It's seen empires rise and fall, hurricanes roll through, and the city burn and rebuild. Every new empire left behind a layer of stone, wood, and blood. By the 1860s, the old Spanish watchtower was lit again after the Civil War, its beam cutting across the Atlantic night. But the ocean doesn't care about history. Tide by tide, it clawed away the land around the tower. The foundation cracked, and reports poured into Washington. The sea is taking the light. Congress approved funds for a new lighthouse, stronger, taller, and built to stand for centuries. It was supposed to be a triumph of engineering. Instead, it began with tragedy. In 1871, Superintendent Hezekiah Pittee moved his family from Maine to oversee the construction. He and his wife Mary brought their children, Mary Adelaide, Eliza, Edward, and little Carrie, who turned the worksite into their own personal playground. The crew used a rail cart to move supplies from ships at the Salt Run up the hill to the tower. To the Pittee girls, it was a roller coaster. On July 10th, 1873, the wooden stop block at the end of the rail was missing. The rail cart shot into the air and flipped into the water below. 15-year-old Mary, 13-year-old Eliza, 4-year-old Carrie, and a 10-year-old African-American girl named Ellie, the daughter of a worker, were trapped underneath. A laborer named Dan Sessions ran to the dock and lifted the cart with his bare hands. Only little Carrie survived. The city stopped that day. Work ceased, and the Pittee family returned to Maine to bury their daughters. They say the laughter of the children still echoes up the tower stairs at night. That tiny footstep patter in the lantern room long after closing. And tour guides say the girls still play hide and seek with anyone brave enough to join them. Maybe it's just the wind. Maybe it's the sound of a summer afternoon that never ended. The keeper's house still stands across from the tower. The place where lives began and ended. Laughter echoed, and grief lingered. If the lighthouse is the city's beacon, the keeper's house is its heart. And like any heart, it remembers. The house was built for the keepers and their families. A place to eat, sleep, raise children, and keep watch over the light. But after a century and a half of storms, loss, and fire, it's become something else entirely. Every hallway has a weight to it. Every floorboard feels like it's holding a secret. The basement is where it begins. It's the only part of the house that survived the fire in 1970. Coquina walls blackened with smoke, air heavy with salt and time. Even after the restoration, volunteers reported strange sensations down there. Sudden cold pockets, whispers that seemed to move behind them, and the faint sound of children's laughter echoing off the stone. One worker said she felt a tug on her sleeve, like a small hand trying to get her attention, only to turn and find herself alone. Another saw a figure dart past the doorway. Not threatening, just curious. Most say the basement doesn't feel evil. It feels occupied, like the house itself is still living, still remembering the people who called it home. And sometimes, those memories reach back. Which brings us upstairs to the parlor, where the past isn't just remembered, it answers back. While the basement may hold its shadows, it's the parlor where the living and the dead seem to truly meet. Paranormal researcher and author Lexi Myers, along with a group of her friends, participated in a paranormal investigation one night at the St. Augustine Lighthouse and Maritime Museum. It was in the parlor, surrounded by the smell of old wood and salt air, where their investigation really began. They started with an Estes method session, one of the most direct and unnerving ways to reach whatever lingers beyond. Savannah historian and tour operator Enid Edenfield, blindfolded, headphones sealed, listening to only a spirit box, was the receiver, while Lexi and the rest of the group asked questions into the dark. The first question.
Is there anything you'd like to tell us?
A pause, and then through the static.
Don't forget the children.
They asked if the girls wanted to play hide and seek. The response was soft, polite, and unmistakably Southern.
Yes, ma'am.
Right then, the paranormal music box beside them went off, echoing through the room.
Gotta go hide. 1,
Lexi began to
2,
count to 10, and with each
3,
number, the EMF meter
8.
glowed brighter,
Gotta hide, honey.
almost like the children were
9,
counting along with her.
10. Here we come.
When they searched the parlor, the readings grew stronger near the curtains, as if the girls were hiding there, waiting to be found.
In the curtains? That's a good hiding spot.
Moments later came 2 more words through the static: seek and,
I went to find him.
referring to Ben, one of the investigators in their group. Later that night, they moved outside to the small playground beside the lighthouse, a place locals say carries the same laughter heard up the tower stairs. Under the moonlight, they started another Estes session. Lexi and Amanda from the True Creeps podcast asked questions, while Eni listened.
Did you follow us from the keeper's house?
We did.
Oh.
Ben asked,
You want me to hide?
All right, what number are you going to count to?
Him. Okay,
You want
man.
me to hide?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Oh,
I'll
okay.
hide.
Very polite.
Oh,
Lexi and Amanda began to seek, sweeping flashlights across the empty playground.
How much time does he have left?
Then Eni suddenly smiled, listening to her headphones, and said,
ready or not?
I don't see him over here.
The music box at the swing started on its own,
Or are we playing on the swings now?
playing softly through the wind. Ben moved to a new spot, then through the headphones came the final message.
You got him?
Whatever was playing with them that night didn't feel tragic. It felt tender, joyful even. Like the children had finally found someone willing to play along. Maybe the Pittee girls aren't trapped here at all. Maybe they just don't want the game to end. If you climb the tower at dusk, the Atlantic breeze soft around you, the beams sweeping across the waves, remember, you're not alone up there. Peter Rasmussen is still on duty. Visitors often report the scent of cherry tobacco lingering in empty rooms, or the brush of unseen hands along the railing as they climb. Some hear a man's slow, deliberate footsteps pacing the halls. Peter Rasmussen was born on the Danish island of Falster. He went to sea at 13 and joined the U.S. Lighthouse Service at 25. He served at Tybee Island and Hunting Island before coming here in 1901. For 23 years, he was head keeper, the longest service in the lighthouse's history. Under his watch, the light station earned the efficiency pendant over and over, the highest honor a keeper could receive. He believed in precision, discipline, and respect for the sea. But in 1921, his wife Lula died of tuberculosis. He kept working a few more years, but without her, the keeper's house became unbearably quiet. He retired in 1924, moved to the mainland, and passed away the following year. He's buried beside Lula in Evergreen Cemetery. But his shift, it seems, never ended. Staff say his spirit is less forgiving than the children's. Visitors who make jokes or mock the lighthouse sometimes feel a sudden weight on their necks, or have their hats swatted clean off of their heads by invisible hands. Objects move, footsteps echo when there's no one there. The temperature drops in the basement, where Peter once kept his tools. He's not a playful ghost. He's a guardian, the kind of man who'd rather haunt eternity than leave the light unguarded. So if you climb those 219 steps and smell cherry tobacco, don't be afraid. You're not alone. You're being inspected by the keeper who never left. The St. Augustine Lighthouse isn't just haunted. It's alive with memory. Every stair, every echo carries a story. And when you reach the top and look out across the bay, it's a reminder that some lights never go out. Coming up, from the light to the living and the dead of the Jimenez Fatio house, where history, heartbreak, and whispers of the past still linger in every room. Just south of the plaza, past the hum of the bayfront and the smell of the sea, there's a narrow lane paved in centuries. Avila Street, the oldest street in America. It's here, in a house of coral and memory, that generations of women built, lost, and rebuilt again. And if you listen closely, you can still hear them. In 1798, a young woman named Juana Pellicer moved into a new home on Hospital Street, what we now call Avilas. She was just 21, the daughter of Francisco Pellicer, the Menorcan carpenter who helped lead hundreds out of bondage in New Smyrna to freedom in St. Augustine. Her husband, Don Andres Jimenez, was 25 years her senior, a Spanish merchant from Ronda. Together, they built this two-story home of coquina and tabby, its walls flecked with crushed shell and coral, born of the very coast it stands upon. Below, a store and billiard hall for sailors and townfolk. Above, a family's private world, laughter, candlelight, and the creak of pine floors. It was the kind of place where you could buy a wedge of cheese, sip a little Madeira wine, and catch the neighborhood gossip before sunset. But the laughter faded too soon. On September 6, 1802, Juana Pellicer died here in the home she built, only 26 years old. Within months, 2 of her children followed her. 4 years later, Andres was gone too. The Jimenez children, Jose, Miguel, and Rosa, scattered to Key West, Cuba, and beyond. The house stood quiet, the shutters closed, but the walls remembered. Two decades later, a new caretaker arrived. Margaret Cook, a widow from Charleston with a head for business and no patience for limitation. In a time when few women could own property, she did. She bought the house, renovated it, and opened it as a boarding house for travelers. Downstairs, sailors and soldiers told stories over supper. Upstairs, the shutters rattled in the ocean wind. Margaret's success was so remarkable that it drew others like her. Other women who refused to fade into the background. After Mrs. Cook came Eliza Whitehurst, another widow, and possibly her sister, who managed the boarding house until her death in 1838. Her son, Daniel Whitehurst, a publisher and notary, left his mark on the house, literally. If you stand in the parlor today and look towards the pianoforte, you can still see his signature etched into the glass of the window, a century-old autograph written by candlelight. Then came Sarah Pittee Anderson, who escaped the fires of the Second Seminole War with her daughters and made this house their refuge. Her elegant cheval mirror, still here, once reflected St. Augustine's most notable guests. Visitors swore they saw General Hernandez and other dignitaries here for supper, surrounded by laughter and candlelight. But when Mrs. Anderson moved to Tallahassee, the mirror stayed behind, and so, they say, did her reflection. In 1855, Miss Louisa Fatio took ownership. Born into privilege but shaped by war, Louisa was educated, independent, and by all accounts, formidable. She ran the boarding house through yellow fever, Union occupation, and Reconstruction, a businesswoman in an age that rarely allowed women to be either. She hired freed servants, survived the chaos of war, and kept her doors open while so many others shuttered theirs. Her boarding house became a haven for travelers, invalids, and artists seeking the healing Florida sun. Constance Fenimore Woolson stayed here in 1873, writing, "The house on Hospital Street was a large white mansion built of coquina with a peaked roof and overhanging balcony." She immortalized both the home and its keeper for her story, The Ancient City. 2 years later, Louisa Fatio died in the same house she saved, 78 years old. But her presence, the steady hum of a woman who endured, never really left. Today, the Jimenez Fatio House is a museum, but not all its guests have checked out. Guides speak softly about the frail lady room, once used for the sick or faint, where shadows still stretch across the bed when no one's inside. Some swear they've felt a hand brush their shoulder, as if someone's making sure they're comfortable. And then there's a playful presence, a child named Miss Madison. Visitors say she races up the stairs, giggling, or nudges open the tiny doors of a dollhouse on the 3rd floor. Sometimes a door creaks open just as a tour ends, like she's waiting for company. And in the owner's bedroom stands that cheval mirror once belonging to Mrs. Anderson. Guests who stare too long say the air shifts behind them, a flicker, a shape, a woman standing just over their shoulder before she fades into the silver glass. In 1939, the National Society of Colonial Dames of America purchased the house, restoring it board by board. They didn't just save a building, they resurrected a lineage, a line of women who built, sheltered, and sustained this place for nearly 200 years. Maybe that's why the house feels alive, because it's always been kept by women who refuse to vanish. From Juana Pellicer's laughter to Luisa Fatio's quiet resolve, their stories still breathe through these walls. The Jimenez Fatio house isn't just haunted, it's inhabited by memory, by love, by all the lives that refuse to let go. Step inside, and the past doesn't whisper, it greets you. Coming up, the echoes grow grander. From parlor rooms to palace halls, we head to the Casa Monica Hotel and Flagler College, where the gilded ghosts of the Gilded Age still walk the marble floors. In 1888, while the new lighthouse watched over the sea, another kind of light was born in St. Augustine. The warm, golden glow of chandeliers in a palace called Casa Monica. Architect Franklin W. Smith built it in the Moorish Revival style. Arched doorways, red-tiled roof, and gold leaf ceilings that caught the afternoon sun. It was the kind of place where every hallway seemed to whisper of Spain, and every corner promised paradise. Only 4 months after it opened, Henry Flagler, the oil magnate who was turning Florida into a Gilded Age dream, saw its potential and bought it for $325,000. He renamed it the Cordova, then later the Alcazar Annex, and built a bridge that floated above the street so guests could cross over to his new Alcazar Hotel without touching the ground. For a decade, this corner of St. Augustine was the center of glitter and grandeur, a cathedral to ambition and electric light. But by 1932, the jazz had stopped. The stock market collapsed, Flagler's empire cracked, and Casa Monica fell silent. Its chandeliers went dark and its windows boarded over. For a time, it was a courthouse, a gavel where there was once champagne. But even then, people swore the old guests had never checked out. They say the 4th and 5th floors are where history refuses to sleep. Housekeepers speak of faucets and radios that turn on by themselves, and the pitter-patter of children's footsteps racing through empty corridors. In the Flagler suite, a child-sized handprint appears on the mirror no matter how often it's cleaned. One housekeeper knocked to see if the room was ready and heard a voice answer from inside, "We've been expecting you." When she opened the door, the room was empty. No guests, just the smell of dust and perfume. In the Ponce de Leon suite, staff say the radio turns itself on when they're working upstairs. A lady in white, captured in a photograph, is often seen here and throughout the hotel, gliding down hallways as though still checking on her guests. She isn't alone. A gentleman in 1920s clothing has been spotted wandering the corridors, a ghost of the Gilded Age, still searching for his suite. And then there's room 511, the hangman's room. They say a guest checked in one evening and never checked out. When staff opened the door, they found him hanging from the beam above the bed. Since then, housekeepers refuse to enter alone. They feel cold winds, icy spots that move like someone walking past, and footsteps that follow them around the bed until they leave. Another guest, in room 411, woke up one night to find his room filled with figures in 1920s garb. Men in hats, women in silk, standing still, frozen in the moonlight. When he blinked, they were gone. Maybe they're the echoes of Flagler's empire, his golden guests trapped between celebration and ruin. Or maybe they're what every old building becomes after enough time, a memory that learned how to breathe. Today, the Casa Monica stands again, reborn in 1999, its arches gleaming beneath the Florida sun, its ballroom alive with laughter. The King and Queen of Spain have walked its halls, and its guests come from around the world. But beneath the music and the light, there's still a whisper in the walls, a reminder that luxury fades, but the past never leaves. And if you listen closely in the dark, between the flicker of lamplight and the thunder outside, you might still hear it. A voice behind the door saying, "We've been expecting you." Across the street from the Casa Monica stands another of Henry Flagler's grand dreams, built not just to dazzle the wealthy, but to crown a city. Where one hotel glitters with reborn luxury, the other still hums with history. If the Casa Monica was his heart, the Ponce de Leon was his soul. And in its echoing halls, the past still walks beneath stained glass domes of gold. When the doors of the Ponce de Leon opened in 1888, they didn't just welcome guests. They unveiled a cathedral of light. Henry Flagler's first great resort was built of poured-in-place concrete and ambition. 6 parts crushed coquina shell to 1 part cement, formed and cast on site. It was one of the first large buildings in America to rise from molds of whetstone and nerve. Inside, murals of angels floated beneath Tiffany glass. The young architects, John Carrière and Thomas Hastings, were barely out of school when they designed it, a palace of Spanish Renaissance dreams that would later lead them to create the New York Public Library. The Ponce shimmered with 4,000 electric lights powered by Edison Electric Company, a miracle of its age, glowing against the night like a promise of the future. Today it stands as Flagler College. Students walk the same halls where dukes, heiresses, and presidents once drifted between columns. But when evening settles through the courtyards, the air changes, and the old hotel remembers. They say the Ponce is home to many spirits. The most famous is the woman in black, believed to be Flagler's mistress, who once lived on the 4th floor and, in despair, ended her life there. Now she wanders the corridors in silence, her heels clicking softly on tile, the lamps flickering as if she's still deciding whether to stay or to finally let go. Others have seen Ida Alice Flagler, his second wife, a woman declared insane by her husband's friend so he could divorce her and remarry. She died decades later behind asylum walls, her freedom never restored. Her figure is said to appear in the women's wing of Ponce Hall, a pale presence in the mirror, her sorrow folded into the light. And then there's Flagler himself. When he died in 1913, his body lay in state right here, in the lobby he built, so that the city could say goodbye. Some say he never left. A man in a white suit, cane in hand, still paces the rotunda after midnight, pausing beneath the glass domes as if inspecting every detail of his masterpiece. From the Gray Lady to the Woman in Black, from Ida Alice's quiet grief to Flagler's eternal vigil, their echoes move through these marble halls. Here, the past isn't buried under time. It breathes through every arch and glows through every pane of Tiffany glass. Because in St. Augustine, the story never ends. It just keeps echoing. By now you've probably realized that there's something about St. Augustine. Every corner hums with memory. Every stone, every shadow holds a story. You can feel it when you walk these streets at night, like the city itself is breathing beneath your feet. From the old jail to Tolomato, from the whispers inside the keeper's house to the echoes in the halls of the Ponce de Leon, every haunting here isn't just about death. It's about how deeply people loved this place while they were alive. Even now, there are more stories waiting. The restless stillness of the Huguenot Cemetery, the silent stares of the figures at Potter's Wax Museum, the music that never stopped playing inside Villa Zoraida. And if you walk a little further down the bayfront, you'll hear the wind through the cannons at the Castillo, whispering in the same voice that carried through these centuries. Remember me. St. Augustine isn't haunted because it's old. It's haunted because it's loved. Because the people who lived here built something that refused to fade. And maybe that's what the ghosts really are. Echoes of devotion, strong enough to outlast time. So as the tide rolls in and the lanterns flicker out, we say goodbye to the ancient city, for now. Its stories will wait for us, right where we left them. Greetings from Florida is written, researched, and narrated by me, Joe Torino. Sound design and production by yours truly, with original theme music by Modern Mimes. Special thanks to Lexi Myers for sharing her experiences and investigation footage from the St. Augustine Lighthouse. You can find more stories, photos, and episode extras at FloridaPod on Instagram. And if you like what you hear, share the show, leave a review, or tell a friend who loves a little weird with their history. And as always, stay weird, Florida. We'll see you next time.